Amen. Welcome back, baby. Episode 161 In a Jar football program. Let's pop a little lip pillar here. How about it? Yes. Get locked in. Get the mind right. We got about 30 minutes here with you guys today. My water bottle's half full, not half empty. I got my Masters shirt on, baby. And let me tell you, man, I found this down at a thrift store on Sunday. I was fired up about it. You know, go down to the thrift store and try to pick a couple of articles of clothing. I haven't been good at being consistent with this, but I hope to make this a consistent practice in 2026 where I pick out a couple articles of clothing that I just don't wear anymore, don't have connection to anymore, and take them down to the local thrift store and donate it. And then however many pieces I get rid of, I try and find something that fits me better that I can replace it with. And I found this Masters shirt on Sunday. I call myself a Southerner. I see myself as a Southerner, but one thing that was not so Southern about me was that I did not have a Masters shirt. I've never been to a Masters tournament, and as you know, in order to get one of these, you normally got to go or know somebody that's going to pick one up for you. And I found one down at the thrift store. Fits me, double XL, and it's nice and soft. And, when I wake up on a weekday, I work from home. But a lot of times on a weekday, I want to throw something nice on so that when I'm working, when I'm doing my job, that it's about feeling a certain way. You know what I mean? I'm not buttoning. I hate wearing button-down shirts. I hate the way they feel. So I throw on a golf shirt like this. What a find down at the thrift store. Welcome to the show, everybody popping in. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. And we're going to talk some football today. We've got Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss quarterback. I'd argue one of the best quarterbacks in college football. With the decision from the NCAA looming. Look, it means nothing. We'll get into it. We'll talk more Super Bowl. And really, that's all I've got for you today. We'll hang around for about 28 minutes. Welcome, everybody popping in. Make sure you subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. We're the fastest growing football channel in the land. So we'll spend, I would say, the first 15 minutes of the episode talking about Trinidad. And then maybe we'll lead in with some Super Bowl talk and then ease into the Trinidad discussion because it's an uncomfortable reality we're living in college football right now. Nothing means anything in college football right now. Anything means nothing, maybe I should say. You see these headlines and you think, nah. It's like the amateur fighting circuit, we got a fighting circuit here in Phoenix. Couple of amateur fighting circuits, and I'm familiar with them because, well, all my friends fight. And we're dealing with something right now where a kid sees my buddy Curtis, I'm sure he won't mind me name dropping him on here. My buddy Curtis had an amateur fight booked. He's the local champion at bantamweight. He's one of the most creative strikers I've ever seen, one of the biggest personalities I've ever gotten to know. And he had a title fight booked for this Saturday. And yesterday evening, kid he was booked to fight just decides he don't want to fight. He sees the gym that we come from. Kid just decides he don't want to fight. So they book another kid. This is we're 2 days from the fight now. They book another kid. And we wake up this morning and this other kid doesn't want to fight. So you never know. Even in the UFC's obviously mastered the art of doing all this, booking fights, making fights, getting fighters to show up, weigh in. There's all these variables, right? And sometimes in the UFC, these kids, these guys, they still, maybe they miss weight, maybe they pass out after the weigh-in. We saw that happen before UFC 324. So really the reason I'm bringing up fighting is really until these guys are in the cage getting ready to go, you don't know if a fight is going to happen. And I feel like that's the case even more so with college football these days. You see a headline, you see an announcement, a guy is ruled ineligible, a guy is ruled this, or a guy signs there. Like, you really don't know until the guy's out there on the field. You really don't. So let's talk about Trinidad Chambliss. Let's talk about Trinidad Chambliss first. So today, Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss quarterback, guy transfers from D2 Ferris State to Ole Miss, relatively unknown. In fact, I got a little cousin that goes to Ole Miss. Everybody in my family went to Ole Miss. I probably would have gone to Ole Miss myself if I was good enough to have played there. But I was down there in Oxford in September. I went down there I think it was September. I went down there for the LSU game. And it was, I believe, the first weekend that Trinidad Chambliss was going to be introduced to America. And my cousin, Charles, was telling me, dude, this guy's a winner. This guy's a dog. This guy won the national championship at D2 last year. You guys got to look out for this cat. And I believed him. Like my little cousin, he's been there. He's got the inside look at all of it. But I also was kind of like, this cat, this kid's probably biased, right? This kid wants Trinidad to be good. Ended up being completely right. And I thought Trinidad was the best quarterback in college football this year. Hard to argue against Fernando Mendoza. Outside of maybe Mendoza, I thought Trinidad was the best quarterback in college football. And it's an absolutely huge deal whether Trinidad is able to come back for Ole Miss next year or not. It's going to completely change the outlook. It's going to, if Trinidad is able to return, and I do believe he will return, despite the news today. So I'm talking about these headlines. They don't mean anything anymore. It's NCAA. They're completely powerless at their own fault, might I add. But he wants a sixth year because he had tonsillitis in 2022 that caused him to miss the 2022 season. NCAA said nope. They appealed it. And again today, NCAA says no to the appeal. But here's what matters. Trinidad's got the documentation, and this has been an ongoing story, not just in the national media, but on this podcast, about how the NCAA wants more documentation around Trinidad Chambliss's medical records. And so they're bringing them, and NCAA is still saying no. And so he's going to go to I'm talking Trinidad Chambliss, if you guys are just popping in, Ole Miss quarterback. He's going down to a tiny Mississippi courthouse next week where the judge is probably going to be an Ole Miss grad. This is what's been happening in college football. You got these kids, we talked about it earlier this week with Joey Aguilar, the Tennessee quarterback. Charles Bediako, the former NBA player that's now playing basketball at Alabama again. Both of those cases, Aguilar and Bediako, both had judges on the case that were alumni of the schools in which these guys played at. And so the joke here is that the judge on Trinidad's case will probably be an Ole Miss grad. I know that there's a big-name lawyer named Tom Mars that specializes in all this stuff. I believe Tom Mars lives in Mississippi or is from Mississippi. So I'm telling you guys right now, this ruling on Trinidad Chambliss' eligibility today, it means absolutely nothing. The NCAA is completely powerless at their own fault. I think everybody is enjoying seeing the downfall of the NCAA. I think where everybody is concerned is how are we going to keep college sports upright without the governing body that's kept it upright for decades and decades and decades. Whether they kept it upright the right way or not is up to interpretation. In fact, I'd argue that the NCAA has kept college sports upright over the last few decades, being the only entity in America that is, number one, a monopoly, and number two, exercising modern day slavery. That might sound heavy, but you think about how college athletes for decades and decades and decades were the body of what made college sports. You don't have college sports without the athletes. And for decades and decades and decades, you had executives, you had university presidents, you had commissioners making millions of dollars off of these kids' backs, and they got absolutely nothing. Shout out to Fishing Outdoors NZ. Sounds like it could be a New Zealand guy. Shout out to that dude. He says, yo, what up, man? And then you got Landon Patoka in the chat. What's up, Landon? What's good, Landon? So the NCAA is completely losing control. Here's the facts. Trinidad spent 4 years at Ferris State, D2 program. I think that's verified. D2 Player of the Year. Transferred to Ole Miss for 2025. Ole Miss goes 13-2 in 2025, capped by a quarterfinal victory over Georgia Bulldogs. They end up in the national semifinals, lose a close game to the U, which I was at. 2 playoff wins total. Pete Golding engineered both of those playoff wins. Here's the eligibility claim. Trinidad's requesting a 6th-year eligibility waiver. The medical claim is tonsillitis, as we said. Adenolitis as well. I don't know what that is. Medical condition prevented him from playing that year. That's the claim. And he wants that year back as a medical redshirt. So the NCAA denied his proposition a few weeks ago. They appeal it, and the NCAA today has now denied the appeal. And the NCAA's argument is if he was that sick in 2022, why could he play in 2024? That doesn't make sense. I have AI create these outlines, and I make sure that it verifies the facts. That doesn't sound right, though. NCAA says he played full 2024 season while having the same symptoms. Interesting. So that is correct. Documentation came too late, according to the NCAA. 2025, 2026, not 2022 when it happened. Interesting. Now, how does this look if a guy like Diego Pavio is granted eligibility this year when he's damn near 30? How does it look if Joey Aguilar gets, the quarterback of Tennessee, gets his eligibility? How does it look that they're literally letting a guy over at Bama basketball play for the Crimson Tide who was literally in the NBA G League 3 weeks ago? How does all this look? Does it sound consistent to you? Doesn't sound consistent at all to me. And every single conflict in the last couple of years, every single case in the last few years, or last few months, if you want to go more recent, has gone in favor of the players. The NCAA is proving themselves to be more and more powerless by the day. I'm Ole Miss biased. I want to see Trinidad Chambliss back in powder blue in 2026. And my gut tells me that Trinidad Chambliss is going to be playing for Ole Miss in 2026. The NCAA is going to end up folding somehow, especially when you get Tom Mars on the case. Tom Mars is a lawyer that unexpectedly stumbled upon a cash cow for his business years and years ago when a student athlete came to him about some sort of eligibility deal. And that was when this lawyer, Tom Mars, learned that a lot of NCAA rules are up to interpretation, especially today. I can't imagine how well Tom Mars is doing financially with everything that's going on. So the state court play, Calhoun County, Mississippi, about 40 minutes from Oxford. Courthouse is a tiny building, looks like a post office. Judge will likely be an Ole Miss alum. You got the hearing next week, February 12th, 2026, and Ole Miss is feeling pretty confident, according to sources. I can't imagine why they wouldn't be, based on everything I just shared with y'all. Not one ruling in eligibility or any other matter in the last year, maybe 5 years, let's say, has gone against the players. I think it's a good thing in this case. I talked about the players having too much power maybe 2 days ago or something. And I do think they have a shit ton of power. It's asymmetrical. But on the other side of the coin, it's pretty convenient in situations like this where you want to see a guy like Trinidad Chambliss return to Ole Miss. I don't blame Ole Miss for feeling pretty confident. They should. Trinidad's going to be suiting up in powder blue next year. Mark my words. Why the state? It says here why the state court is different. Judge will be close to Ole Miss campus. Judge likely understands Ole Miss culture and the situation for sure. NCAA is losing in state courts repeatedly, just like I shared with y'all. And the pattern, look, I mentioned Bediako, I mentioned Aguilar. They both get relief. Now, if Trinidad is somehow not able to get eligibility for the 2026 season, he is number 4 on Mel Kiper's big board. I've said it on the show before. I'll say it on here again. I think Trinidad's going to be a great pro quarterback. He goes off script incredibly. He's got the arm to complete big throws, explosive plays, and he's got the mind for it. This guy's a winner. He's proven himself to be a winner everywhere he goes. I'm not sure why more draft analysts aren't talking about Trinidad Chambliss, other than the fact that we all know that he's going to win this case against the NCAA and get his last year of eligibility in 2026. If he's able to return to Ole Miss like I think he will next year, he's going to be the number 1 quarterback on the board in the 27 NFL draft, next year's NFL draft. So let's read the summation of this. NCAA denied Trinidad based on documentation. They said, why are you asking for this now in 2025 when it happened in 2022? When he walks into a small town Mississippi courthouse where the judge is probably an Ole Miss grad, it's going to be a different story. He might actually win, and if he does, it shows the NCAA is losing his power. I don't think we need this case to show why or how the NCAA is losing power. Right? If you look around, every single case like this, eligibility case, anything involving players versus the powers that be, if you want to call them powers anymore at this point, the players prevail. And I don't think this case is going to be any different at all. I think Trinidad Chambliss returns to Ole Miss to play quarterback in 2026. Ole Miss Rebels would be top 5 if that's the case. I've got some NBA stuff in here. I don't care about NBA at all. It's a trash product. It's a bunch of political slop thrown into like every single game, every single event. You know, you have these people in Minneapolis that are rioters, and you know the Minnesota Timberwolves want to show them on the big board in a moment of silence. It's an absolute joke. The NBA, run by Adam Silver, who literally looks like a blood drinking ghoul. You know, and so I don't care about the trade deadline. I don't care about John Morant. Most of these guys, I get these ESPN alerts the last couple of days about the NBA trades that are going down. I could care less. In fact, 80% of the names that are apparently worthy of ESPN sending alerts out because they've been traded, I don't even know who the hell they are, these basketball players. I know Wemby. I know Luka. You know, LeBron's still kicking somehow. It's probably from all that child blood he drinks in the offseason. You know, I don't care about the NBA. I could not care less. The product is terrible, and there's people talking about the lack of effort in these NBA games that's so apparent. These guys are literally Gen Z, brain fried, TikTok scrolling, instant gratification gooners, these NBA players. And they get thrown all this money at them. They play a sport that's easy to play. Let's be real as we can be. Basketball's an easy sport to play. You got guys that literally catch a pinky on the side of their face and it's like, could you imagine putting those guys in a cage or an octagon for a fight? You think these basketball guys would last 2 seconds in a sport that's actually tough? It's interesting to me how little interest I have in the NBA when it was one of my favorite things to watch as a kid. I remember the NBA Finals when the Miami Heat had the big three, Ray Allen. They were playing the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, you guys remember, maybe I'm being a bit nostalgic. The nature of this show is entirely nostalgic, I concluded the other night. But the product has just deteriorated so drastically with the NBA, and it's really sad. It's just this. The NBA is a perfect example of what happens when you take a sport like basketball and inject a bunch of woke garbage into it. And the mentality is just cancerous. It's you don't have any team guys in the NBA. You don't have any defensive grinders in the NBA anymore. Maybe Marcus Smart's the last of a dying breed there, if he's still even in basketball. I think I heard Al Horford was playing still, which is crazy. I remember watching him at Florida in 2007. So, no, I'm not going to talk about John Morant. I'm not going to talk about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis doesn't even play. He just collects a paycheck to stand there on the sideline in street clothes. I'm not going to talk about NBA trade deadline. I'm just not. It's a joke of a game. It's a mockery. We're showing Alex Preddy, or whatever the hell that guy's name, the looks maxed version of that. I was about to say something nasty of that guy on the Minnesota Timberwolves Jumbotron. A moment of silence for this social justice warrior. Get the fuck out of my face with that woke garbage. Adam Silver responsible for all of it. David Stern, who I actually met when he was still alive, mentioned in a lot of the Epstein files. It's just crazy how bad the NBA has gotten. College basketball I still enjoy. In fact, when I get home from training later this evening, I'll probably watch some college basketball. And you don't hear a lot of NIL discussion around college basketball players other than Bediako, and that's a special case. I don't really know whether college basketball players make even close to the money that football players make in college. I have no clue. I never hear about NIL deals with basketball players at all. It's all football. And I just started reading a book that's very interesting, talk about why football is the biggest thing in America, and how it's a sport that's absolutely perfect for TV. Maybe we'll talk more about that over the course of the show, especially as the season dies down. We've got the Super Bowl on Sunday, as you guys know, and this is the second to last in-season rendition of In the Jar for 2025. We're going to keep going live day in and day out, and we're just going to scratch and claw. We're going to find some guests, and we're going to keep going live every weekday. But you guys, if you're watching, you're part of a group that's in here during the final days of the football season on a football podcast. So that's pretty cool. So we covered Trinidad Chambliss. I don't care about the NBA trade deadline. It's a terrible product. It's a bunch of woke bullshit that's been injected into that league, and a bunch of dopamine-addicted gooners who are the faces of the sport now. All they care about is chasing tail. In some cases, trannies. If you're Michael Porter Jr., who really wasn't even that great of a basketball player anyway, but he got so desensitized to getting everything he wanted at any time he wanted that he needed a bigger rush, so he started going after trainees. That is the state of a lot of NBA players. They play an easy sport. They get paid a lot of money to play an easy sport, and a lot of these guys have never really struggled once they made it to college. So I might clip some of those. That might be pretty good. There might be some good. It's not. It might be rage bait to some people, but I don't think it's rage bait. I think it's fact. So let's talk more about the Super Bowl. I've got about 6 minutes left with you guys. I've got a jiu-jitsu competition on Saturday. Fans of the show probably already know that. And we are scaling the activity back on mine. It's my first competition ever. And we had some hard rounds Monday, Tuesday. Kind of flowed a little bit last night. And then tonight and tomorrow night, I'm just going to drill and then not do live rounds, try and preserve my body. I might even go get a massage tomorrow. I think I'm going to do that and make sure we're ready for battle on Saturday. So the reason I tell you all that is I need to be out of here in 5 minutes so that I'm actually on time to practice, so that I don't miss the drilling, which is the first 30 minutes of practice. Because sometimes I do this show, I get flowing, and then we don't get out the house. Class starts at 5:30. We don't get out the house until 5:15, 5:20. The gym's 20 minutes away, and sometimes we hit traffic. So sometimes I'll get to the gym like 30 minutes late, and that can't be the case tonight because I'm not going live, and that's the last 30 minutes practice. So let's talk more about keys here in the Super Bowl. Quick 5 minutes, and then we'll get you guys out of here. We'll really hit it hard. We'll really hit Super Bowl hard tomorrow. As it'll be our last show before the Super Bowl and our last show of the 2025 season. I can't believe, I think it's our second full season that we're about to finish on In the Jar here. It's crazy how time goes by. Appreciate everybody supporting, subscribing, watching, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so more keys to victory for the Patriots and the Seahawks. Let's take a look. Clean play from Sam Darnold, especially under pressure. In the regular season, Darnold produced a 3.4 turnover-worthy play rate, which tied for the sixth highest among qualified passers. But in the divisional round and conference championship, Seattle quarterback committed only one turnover-worthy play across 59 dropbacks, good for a 1.6% clip. The most focal area where Darnold has improved is keeping the ball secure under pressure. When under duress in the playoffs, Darnold has improved. I don't care about PFF grades, so I'm not reading that. Turnover-worthy play figures dropped from 5.2 to 0%. Don't you guys think these PFF grades are such bullshit? They're speculative. Guys that are making these grades, we don't even know what they're based on. Okay. Free agent turned the corner against the Rams 2 weeks ago, exercised some demons. If Darnold continues to not put the ball in harm's way, it should allow Seattle to maintain methodical possessions that complement its elite defense. Cumulatively, that should add up to a victory. So Julian Edelman was talking about this, and I think Julian Edelman's a good guy to listen to if you're talking about somebody who would make a good take around Super Bowls. He's a guy that knows a thing or two about Super Bowls, and he said that the team that makes the least. This is very obvious, by the way. I mean, everybody's going to hear me say this and be like, oh, really? The team that makes the least mistakes in the Super Bowl is going to be the team that wins it. And when you spin it that way, you look at the Seahawks, who are more seasoned. They've got older players on the team. And then you look at the Patriots, who are a really young unit with a head coach that is in his first year with the organization. Now, if you're in the Super Bowl and you have a first-year head coach, I don't think you could have anybody put your team in a better position than Mike Vrabel, who's, I think, won 3 as a player. So it's an interesting conundrum. It's going to be about who makes the least mistakes. Who's going to break off the route on a hot? You know, who's going to go through their reads, follow their assignment to a T? Who's gonna bring in contested catches? Who's going to not get beat in man coverage? Who's going to make tackles? I read something down here that the Seahawks are actually very high up on the list in pro football this year of teams that have missed tackles. Kobe Bryant, the corner, I believe, what a name, by the way, spelled different, has a lot of missed tackles for Seattle. Can Seattle clean that up? Can they make tackles? Again, missed tackles can add up, and in a game like the Super Bowl, the later you get in the NFL playoffs, the stouter these teams become, the more magnitude comes with mistakes. Can the Seattle defense clean up some of those missed tackles? Force quick decisions from Drake May. That's a key to victory for Seattle. The Patriots' offense was one of the most dynamic in the regular season, and they've been a lot less effective in late January. A lot of that stems from worse play from May, but he's still capable of carrying New England on the sports grandest stage when given ample time in the pocket. Really, I think it's going to be about how many plays with May's legs that Seattle allows. If Seattle allows Drake May to get out and run around a bit, it's going to be a long night for Seattle. If they can keep him in the pocket and they can somehow get pressure on him without letting him out of the pocket to run, it might be a long night for Drake May and the Patriots. What up, Corey? Shout out to Corey. Big fan of the show. Always appreciate it when I see Corey's name in the chat. Consequently, Seattle may be able to make May uncomfortable by getting after him hastily. Seahawks have generated the third most quick pressures, 243, of any defense this year. If they harass May fast and keep rush lane integrity to suffocate scrambles, it should play favorably. That's a good way to say it. Rush lane integrity. When guys are getting sent on blitzes, do they stay true to their assignment, or do they want to be a hero and kind of deviate from the assignment a bit in order to try and make a play? This is what I'm talking about. Mistakes in a Super Bowl, the highest level of the game. The two best teams in pro football this year and each year in the Super Bowl. Mistakes are going to be magnified, and the game might be decided on something as small as maybe a Seattle rusher not maintaining their rush lane integrity and letting May out to make plays with his legs. I think until the last couple weeks, May's ability to get out and run with his size, he's a big guy, has been completely underestimated. I don't think Seattle's going to underestimate that at this point. There's enough film on him for them to know that if my plebeian ass is on this podcast talking about it. Like I said, Seattle's had a lot of missed tackles, surprisingly. They've missed 162 tackles this year, the 12th most of any defense in the league. The Seahawks, there's three Seahawks, Drake Thomas, Kobe Bryant, and DeMarcus Lawrence have all missed 16 or more tackles this season. So we got to look out for that. Guys, I got to go. If you're in here for the first time, welcome to the show. You can watch all replays on the channel. I got to update the audio episodes. It's kind of hard to keep up with those when we have a daily show, but I will update them. So you can watch replays on here, replays on Kick, Twitch, audio episodes on Spotify. Short clips posted every day. Cool Football Show on Instagram. I changed the handle. Cool Football Show. It's pretty easy to remember on Instagram. Clark Dupree on TikTok. Obviously, you guys see me on here, so I don't have to call out the YouTube channel name. But if you guys are just popping in, click right down there somewhere. And you'll get sent to my channel. You'll be able to watch replays of this episode and any other episode you want to watch. They're all there. They're vertical on YouTube, so if you're going to watch replays on YouTube, I suggest watching on a smartphone. We do that so that you are able to find us in the shorts feed. I'm talking new fans. We're trying to grow our audience, so be a friend, tell a friend, as an elder in our space would say, tell friends about the show, other ball lovers, anybody that you can, get them watching in the jar. We got the last episode of the 2025 football season going down tomorrow, and then we'll have Super Bowl Sunday, and then we will embark on the most daunting offseason in our show's great history. It's the first offseason that we will be live every weekday, and we will find stuff to talk about, even without football being played. We're going to have a lot of guests, and we might talk about a lot more MMA, maybe some college basketball, all that stuff. Regardless, we're going to be here. I contemplated like, oh, maybe we'll scale it back, this and the other, but I wrote down my goals for the year, and part of that is 240 episodes this year, and we're going to hit it. We're going to hit it. So you guys strap in, subscribe to the channel, and I'm going way too long. I need to be out the door. I'm going to jiu-jitsu. We got free agency. We got the draft. That's right. There will be a lot of stuff. You know, we talk about Joe Burrow bleaching his hair or whatever. We'll find a way. That's how we do it here. But I need your guys' help. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button for me. I'm being a subscribe merchant. But it's what we're trying to do here. All right, guys. I got to head out.